little rocky on the music there.
Howdy, everyone. I am Paul Thompson, and yes, this is my Project Hell, where for the next 20 minutes, my co-host Kelly and I are going to throw away the corporate lingo and talk no-nonsense project management, hopefully giving you some plain solutions to real project problems.
And I'm Kelly Schockler, and in today's My Project Hell episode, Paul and I have a hot topic to share with you that we've been arguing about for the last couple of weeks. And then we've got a special guest project manager in our coach's corner who's going to share her Project Hell situation with us. We have no doubt that in today's episode, you'll walk away with at least one good thing, whether it's a reminder to do something in your projects that you haven't done in a while, or maybe it's a gentle slap upside the head to get on a specific solution in your project before it's too late. So we also have some faithful project managers listening right now as we're live. And if that's you right now, we want to invite you to chime in with your own cautionary advice by using the chat feature here in Zoom webinars. And with that, Paul, I hand it over to you. Please fill our listeners in on the most interesting hot topic of the day.
That's right. This one is the bat signal when the PMs are in distress. So let's talk a little bit about what we mean by that, because back in the 1950s, Madison Avenue introduced the Marlboro Man, who just exuded confidence, self-reliance, independence, and could seemingly overcome any challenge. 70 years later, our culture is still trying to live up to that ideal. And as a result, many of us have some difficulty when it comes to asking for help. So in this episode today, we want to talk about getting assistance for your project without any fear, right? Without fear of looking dumb or worrying about owing something to someone else, or just plain not knowing how to ask. So Kelly, what is it when we say how and why should PMs send up the bat signal?
Well, it's definitely not about looking like the Marlboro Man, right? So I think we can safely assume that people who are listening have been in this position. You're in a project, you're doing your work, and somewhere along the line, something incredibly disastrous happens for whatever reason. There's lots of reasons, but let's just say you're stuck. Maybe it's looking like your project team isn't able to deliver on a key company initiative that has multi-millions or even hundreds of thousands of dollars writing on it, and dreams, the hopes and dreams of the senior leadership. Or maybe you've been in a project where there's a key, well-respected customer and they are literally making life hell for you and your team. You're all expected to jump high, often, meet every demand, and it's coming to a point maybe where your team's threatening to quit and you're just throwing up your hands, you don't know what to do. So now we're at a point where we're anxious about letting others know that we need help and to send out our bat signal. And if you're like a lot of PMs, maybe you've even spun up several stories about what's going to happen if you do. And they all have horrible endings, right, Paul?
Yeah.
You're out of a job.
We tell ourselves.
Yeah. We're out of a job. We're not going to have a place to live. What else? What's the story you tell yourself?
Project's going to get me fired, going to lose my job. All these things come to mind, right?
Yeah. It's forever going to be in the project management hall of shame.
Right. Branded.
Yeah. So the trick is knowing when and how to send out your distress call, the bat signal, or raising the white flag to summon the help that you need. And when we think about the actual act of making the call, it's like, oh, I have to make myself vulnerable to other people's judgments. I don't want to think about that, or I'm going to look incompetent. You mentioned that. I'm going to look incompetent because I haven't been able to figure this out. But the answer to this is don't wait. When you're in a bad situation, to start with, hopefully you've got a nice relationship with your manager. Go to them. Maybe it's your sponsor, whichever person makes the best sense. But before you put the call out to summon help, put some effort into how you're going to ask for it. think through how you're going to present your problem. And what I mean by that is spend time laying out what happened, why it happened, what are the impacts of what happened, what have you already done to triage the situation, and the specifics of the kind of help you need. It's never good to rush in with that world is ending. Hey, I have a problem. The project's blowing up. We're going to tank the company's bottom line and we're all going to be fired. Right, Paul?
Guys, falling chicken little.
Yeah, and you and I both have templates in our toolboxes on our websites to help PMs frame up these issues. Paul's got a one-pager. I've got an SBAR template. And when you do this, it's going to make a great big difference in how your project manager capabilities are perceived, the level of empathy you're going to get. You want some empathy, right? And it's going to preserve your project manager street cred.
That's right. And remember, you should be doing this throughout your project. These are not lessons learned to put towards the end. And as Kelly pointed out, right, going to your peers, going to your manager with a plan. So some of the tools that can help you get there include flow charts or cause and effect diagrams, right? The old fishbone, scatter charts, histograms, force field analysis. But you want to have taken the time, as Kelly described, and kind of brought in the data. What's the problem? How do I see it affecting this thing? And even if you don't see the way out, lay out as much as you know so that when you present it, it's very clear to your peers, to your manager, that you've thought about this and that you're not just immediately throwing up your hands. And I will tell you that for me, one of the things I find most important in the senior project manager role is that they help others through difficult project issues, right? And when they're done well, and the issues brought to them, they can solve a whole lot of things based on their experience, but it also really lets them exercise that leadership muscle that I look for in senior project managers. So don't think of this really as a problem that you're asking for help. Think of it as you're giving somebody else the opportunity to kind of step up and exercise their intellectual capabilities.
I like that. That's good. And the reminder on the data, just some simple data. I'm in a project right now where I am sending out the bat signal with a client. And right now I'm gathering some data because I don't want to go in there and say big problem and then not have anything to support finding the solution. So I think that's super important. And then I think, let's talk about just for a second as we wrap this hot topic up, that vulnerability that we both mentioned. And Paul, you've read Brene Brown's Staring Greatly, right?
Right. Yep.
So, having the courage to be vulnerable, to learn how to put yourself out there and ask for what you need, even when there's this big risk of getting criticized or getting your feelings hurt. It's a great read. Highly recommend it if you haven't read it. So just to wrap up, before you send out the bat signal to someone for help, frame up what happened, how it happened, what you've done so far to fix it, get the data, and then ask for what you think you need and be open about knowing that you don't know what to do. That's okay too. So remember, you're always in control of raising your hand, shining the bat signal or whatever and you get to make the choice when and how.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into our coach's corner. Today we've got special guest project manager, our own My Project Help producer, Katie, who is, full disclosure, a part of the MetaGuire team. And Katie is currently working for MetaGuire as a project management consultant. And the reason we were able to get Katie here with us today is I promised that Paul would give her a bonus. So thanks, Paul. So Katie, welcome to your project hell. Literally, this is your show and now you're in it. So tell us what's going on. What's your situation?
So, like you said, I am an outside project manager coming into an organization. And the issue I'm having is that I can't seem to track down the people who I actually need for this project. At first, I was given a big list of contacts And through that and doing some meetings, it turns out these aren't really the people I'm looking for. And so when I do email people, asking for help, it's always like, okay, yeah, go talk to this person. Then I talk to that person. And then they're like, I'm including these people too. And it's just, I just am kind of struggling to figure out who's who, what's needed. And then it just takes so much extra time because I'm just chasing down all the people that I actually need. So I'm trying to figure out if there's any way to get this solved.
Okay, and what are some of the things you've tried to get through this?
So we did ask if maybe it would be beneficial for me to get an email within the organization, so then I can, look at org charts and I can see everyone's title and I can look at people's schedules just to kind of make things easier on my program owner. But then they decided that wasn't necessary. So I'm not sure what else I can do besides just.
Yeah, well, it's
going
probably a
on
cost
job
thing,
duty.
right? Giving you
Yeah.
a license probably wasn't figuring into their bottom line, but still, how often do we use the org chart, to look someone up in the global address book? So that must be frustrating for you.
Mhm.
So what would your perfect world look like? Your perfect outcome? What would be happening in it?
I mean, I just want a clear, like, if you are having this problem, go to this person. If I need to find out where we can have something delivered, who is in charge of that for this certain site or for the whole thing? I just want to make sure I'm not, talking to someone on the bottom when really I should be talking to someone on top, or I'm not bothering someone on top when really there's someone lower who can help me. So just
Okay.
more clear and concise, just a list.
What you got, Paul? What are you thinking?
Yeah, communication definitely is, it's kind of the key to project management in my mind. And who's who in the zoo is probably one of the hardest things I think most PMs face when they're new to an organization, right? And Caitlin, as a consulting PM, is new all the time on projects to organizations. So this is something I think you're going to fight quite a bit. I don't get a lot of opportunities when I'm consulting in to see org charts because many of them, clients, they don't have them or they're so out of date, they're not all that helpful. As Caitlin pointed out, though, I think, being able to look in the gallery, that's always something good if they keep that up. I would recommend that you start kind of in a notebook or in Visio or something, just sort of start building an organizational network map. And so let's talk about what that is. An org chart says who reports to who. And that's just HR speak. What an organizational network map does is that talks to how work flows between people or between departments and around the organization. And oftentimes this is somewhat independent of the org chart, right? It might be an individual in shipping who really knows where all the bodies are buried and how to get, things received and shipped quickly from one location in their company to another. Or it might be an admin who has kind of the keys to the kingdom when it comes to getting folks to step up for things you need. But think of it as a visual map that you're going to just be drawing. And every time you've got a name and they're a no, you just get it and they're a little box, right? And you note if they help you, if they can't help you, and you start to connect all the dots across your organization. It can be a little time consuming, so this is a great tool on longer, bigger projects and not so helpful on real short ones. But you're going to start by just doing that mental exercise, quickly understanding how things flow in an organization, and your next project and the project after it. Those are going to be recognizable patterns that you start to see out in an organization.
I like that. That sound doable, Katie?
Yeah, it does. That's a great idea.
So yeah, when I go in, I will just get a blank piece of paper and start drawing as I go along, and then maybe make it into something nicer. But it helps because there's a mental taxing that goes on when you're trying to figure this out, and it's really fatiguing, especially if you don't have instant access to find out where people are. And so one of the things I'm thinking of is stakeholder interviews. Have you been able to do any, when you started the project, were you able to sit down with your sponsor or owner to get a list of key stakeholders that you could meet with?
No, not really. This list was just
Okay.
kind of given to me.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. It's never too late. If you can find a couple key people that your sponsor could tell you, hey, these are the people you need to talk to, and just do a quick 15-20 minute interview with them, right? Because their time is limited. And it also shows that you respect their time when you say, I'm just going to take 20 of your minutes, and you have your questions when you go in. And in those interviews, you can learn so much about who to go to and for what. Who is considered the go-to decision maker for this site? And if they don't know, you keep coming up again and again with not knowing who's in charge, then it's time to go back to the sponsor or owner and say, hey, I need a structured decision-making process. I need a decision maker. The buck stops here, accountable person, on the customer side. Otherwise, Katie, you're just going to thrash and burn, as I like to call it, right? Because you're going to keep, no one knows. I don't know. It's not me. It's not me. It was that cartoon. I'll date myself if I say it. Okay, it's Family Circle. That's super old. I'm not that old.
Oh no, that's great. And I think, Kelly, I think you kind of nailed it with that 20-minute discussion, right? One-on-one conversations. I know when we were more on site with customers, lunches, going out for drinks, having water cooler conversations, catching people in the hallway. Salespeople use these kinds of things all the time, and they're always trying to find out who do they really need to talk to and what will it take to get the order. And good or bad, the PM role is a lot like sales when it comes to persuasion and to getting people to step up and do things. So a lot of the techniques that sales teams use are things that PMs need to adapt to in a more elastic kind of approach that we live in now.
Something along the lines that Paul's talking about is finding an internal person that you can build a relationship with, to meet with regularly, to get the intel that you need to make connections. So someone that's got access to the global address book or the org chart, and usually executive assistants are great resources for this. We all know they run the world behind the scenes, right? And people are usually more than happy to help you get oriented. And maybe it's, hey, 15 minutes once a week, you have your list ready. Who's this? Or just getting names and roles, checking in with them. And then don't forget to show your gratitude for their effort with a little something, like a little gift from one of the 4 food groups: coffee, chocolate, wine, tea. Always works.
Wine, the 4 food groups. I like that.
Yeah. Just a few ideas.
No, that's great. So, Caitlin, does this sound like there's some merit in some of these ideas that you think you can apply?
Yeah, definitely. I think getting someone on my side, someone who, isn't like the project owner, because I don't want to bother them with this. So if I could find someone, I need to find someone who's like an intern or something and have them help me.
Well, that's good, because it goes back to sort of the problem we talked about with the bat signal, right?
Mm-hmm.
This gives somebody else the opportunity to kind of step up and help you and feel a part of the project in ways that they don't normally get to. So you can use that kind of approach to have it as an opportunity, not a bother to them. Mm-hmm. So just remember, kind of develop your organizational map, figure out how work is flowing beyond just, who reports to who. Start to have those stakeholder interviews, or as you said, right? And find your intern, your individual
Project coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's just,
that's
Mhm.
there, that really coordinator or executive assistant that can help you drive that data that you don't have access to. And more often than not, people want to help. They want to share the information. You just got to ask. So good luck with that.
Okay, bye.
yeah, well, let us know. Let us know what happens. I want to
Sure
know.
will.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay.
Paul and Katie, we're out of time. We need to bring this one home. So we want to give a big gratitude shout out to those PMs who tuned in live today on the show. And thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. And also to those of you who found us on YouTube and decided to give a listen, thanks for tuning in. Paul and I offer free problem solving time, and we've got links to our calendars so you can get some time with us and talk to us about anything you want. That's in the post-show email, and you can schedule your call with us.
Absolutely. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I know Kelly and I have a lot of fun putting these together. Please join us next time when we're going to cover is the project management role on the list of endangered species. That'll be a new hot topic for us. And if you do want to participate in Coach's Corner, drop us an email at myprojecthell@gmail.com. We're always on the lookout for project managers that want to bootstrap themselves out of their hell. Kelly mentioned it, but I'm going to throw it out there one more time. You're going to get an email with a quick survey. Please fill it out because we benefit from lessons learned just like everybody else. So hope to see you all next time.
Thank you. Take care.